The dry wind whispered through the sun-scorched grasses of the savannah as the golden light of dawn bled across the horizon. A young zebra, barely old enough to stray from its mother, darted nervously between thorny acacia trees. Its breath came in ragged bursts, hooves kicking up clouds of dust with each panic step. Behind it, a shadow moved, silent, precise, lethal. The lioness, lean and scarred from battles past, stalked through the brush with deadly patience. She needed this kill. Her cubs waited. The zebra's ears flicked back, catching the faint rustle. It froze. The air thickened. Silence pressed in like a held breath. And then, chaos. A blur of tawny muscle launched from cover. The zebra bolted, heart hammering, legs flailing. But it was young. It was alone. And it was hunted. In that instant, nature showed its raw truth. Survival was earned with fear and fury. The savannah did not forgive mistakes. It only offered moments. And this moment would decide whether the zebra would live or vanish into the jaws of fate. From atop a windswept ridge, a figure raised binoculars to their eyes. Talia, a seasoned wildlife tracker in her early 30s, with sun-kissed skin and sand-colored gear, locked onto the unfolding chaos below. "Not again," she muttered, urgency crackling in her voice. Her radio hissed on her shoulder. Another calf alone and exposed. Her fingers tightened around the leather strap of her pack. This was the third zebra foal she'd seen hunted in as many weeks. Something was disrupting herd patterns. But there was no time for answers now. She watched the lioness close in with merciless speed, the zebra tripping briefly before regaining pace. Talia's chest clenched. She couldn't just watch. Not again. Heart racing, she spun toward her land cruiser parked behind the ridge, gravel skittering under her boots. The predator was seconds away. If she moved fast enough, there might be a chance. If not, this calf would be nothing more than another echo lost in the grasslands. Talia slammed into the driver's seat and fired the ignition. The engine growled awake as tires spun through loose gravel. She grabbed the steering wheel with both hands, knuckles white. The lioness had nearly reached the zebra. Through the dusty windshield, Talia spotted the chase curving toward a shallow ravine. She jammed the accelerator. The vehicle bucked forward. The terrain was rough, uneven, scattered with termite mounds and hidden roots. But none of it mattered. Not with a life hanging in the balance. She radioed in, possible intervention required, predator closing in, I'm going in. Static crackled back. Negative, Talia. Protocol says, stand down unless human life's at risk. Talia's jaw tightened. Copy that, she snapped, voice hollow. But her foot stayed down. Over every bump and bounce, her eyes stayed locked on the blur of stripes and fury in the distance. Hold on, little one, she whispered. Just hold on. The zebra's tiny hooves stumbled over a rock hidden in the tall grass. It tumbled, gasping, then scrambled back up, legs shaking. Behind it, the lioness adjusted her path with terrifying control. She was gaining. Her breathing deepened, her pupils locked. This was the final stretch. The zebra veered left, eyes wide with terror, when a sudden low roar broke through the air. Not the lioness, but something mechanical. Dust burst from a nearby rise as Talia's vehicle roared into view. The lioness hesitated, her instincts disrupted. The zebra surged forward. Talia swerved hard, skidding across the predator's path with a cloud of sand and noise. For an instant, predator and machine met eyes. The lioness blinked, then backed off, melting into the grass with a hiss. The zebra, battered but breathing, collapsed just beyond the slope. For now, it was safe. Talia leapt from the vehicle before it stopped rolling, boots slamming into the dirt. She rushed to the zebra, who lay trembling in the grass, its sides heaving like bellows. Blood smeared one knee, but no bones jutted. You're okay, she murmured, crouching beside it. You made it. Her voice shook, adrenaline making her hands tremble as she pulled a soft cloth from her pack. In the distance, the lioness watched from a shaded thicket, eyes glowing, tail flicking slowly. She wasn't gone, only waiting. Talia glanced back once before focusing on the zebra. One of them stole you drama, name strains. You guys trust round away. Let's get you out of here before round 2 begins. She gently draped the cloth over the zebra's neck, whispering calming words. It blinked at her, still in shock, but alive. And in this brutal land, that was enough for now. Talia knelt beside the zebra, her breath finally steadying. She studied its flank. Minor abrasions, one bleeding knee, no visible fractures. You're tougher than you look, she murmured, running gentle fingers along its trembling side. The zebra twitched but didn't flinch. It was calming down. She clicked her radio. Subject stable. Minor injuries, requesting med unit and safe transport. A long pause, then static gave way to a voice. Copy that. Closest med team is 40 minutes out. Hold position. Talia exhaled slowly. Every minute here was a risk. The lioness hadn't left, just faded into the tall grass lurking. She grabbed a silver thermal blanket from her pack and draped it loosely over the zebra's back to ease the shock. You'll be okay, Stripey. Just stay with me. As she stroked its head, the zebra's breathing began to slow, no longer shallow and frantic. It trusted her, or at least, it no longer feared her. Minutes passed like hours. Talia scanned the horizon again. No med crew, no sign of another vehicle. But she felt the eyes. Somewhere not far off, the lioness still watched. Talia stood slowly and took 3 measured steps toward the brush. She didn't see her, but she felt her. The silence was unnatural. No bird song, no rustling wind. The savannah was holding its breath. Behind her, the zebra stirred and let out a weak bray. I know, Talia whispered, not turning. She's still there. Her fingers brushed the tranquilizer gun strapped to her belt. It wasn't meant for big cats, but it was better than nothing. She knew this territory well, and in this part of the plains, the predators didn't give up easily. Especially mothers. And this lioness, she wasn't hunting out of instinct alone. There was desperation in her movements. Hunger, maybe even vengeance. That made her unpredictable and dangerous. Talia moved closer to the land cruiser, her eyes scanning for movement. She retrieved a large collapsible mesh shield from the back. A mobile barrier she'd used before during rescues. Setting it up in the dirt, she created a half-circle of protection around the zebra. It wouldn't stop a determined lioness, but it would slow her. The wind picked up, rustling the grass in every direction. For a split second, she saw motion. Not the lioness, but 2 cubs. Small, emaciated, watching from a distant rise. Her heart sank. She's not hunting for herself, Talia said softly. She's feeding them. Compassion warred with fear. She looked back at the trembling zebra, then to the cubs. Nature had no villains. Just survivors. Still, she couldn't let this calf die. Not like this. I'm sorry, she whispered, unsure who it was meant for. Then she returned to her post, shield in place, eyes locked forward. The cubs disappeared into the grass again. Talia didn't dare move. She crouched beside the zebra, whispering steady words, eyes flicking between the brush and her vehicle. Rescue Team ETA, she radioed. Still 25 minutes, came the reply. Time was dragging. The zebra shifted, pressing its head lightly against her knee. A fragile gesture of trust. She responded with a soft stroke behind its ear. That was when the grass parted. 30 meters away, the lioness stepped out, full silhouette in the amber light. She made no sound. Her eyes were fixed not on the zebra, but on Talia. They locked stares. A silent negotiation. The lioness crouched slightly, but did not charge. Talia didn't flinch. Her hand hovered near the gun. Don't, she whispered. Please don't. The lioness snarled low but didn't move. Seconds passed. Then, she blinked, turned, and vanished into the thicket. Not a retreat. A decision. Talia collapsed to her knees the moment the lioness vanished. Her breath came in heaves, not from running, but from release. She looked down at the zebra. Its ears flicked. It was watching her now, not in terror, but in awe. Or maybe recognition. "We're still here," she said aloud, as if confirming it to both of them. The wind had changed. Cool now. The air shifted. Distant, the rumble of tires approached. The med unit was close. She stood, eyes scanning the distant road, and saw the glint of sun off glass. Help was coming. Relief swept over her like rain after drought. She pressed her hand gently against the zebra's chest. "You did good," she said. "You're a fighter." For a moment, there was peace. A temporary stillness under the amber light. Talia stared into the grass one last time, half expecting the lioness to reappear. But she didn't. Only the wind remained. The med team arrived with a roar of engines, their vehicle parting the grass like a steel beast. Talia waved them down, her arm aching from tension. Two medics leapt out, one older, gray-bearded and sharp-eyed, the other young and visibly nervous. 6-month-old foal, minor leg trauma, mild shock, Talia reported quickly, stepping aside. The zebra flinched as the strangers approached, but Talia crouched close and whispered, "They're here to help." The older medic nodded, unrolling a field stretcher. "We'll stabilize it here, then move." As the first aid kit opened, antiseptic smell filled the air. Talia stepped back, her muscles finally easing. But her eyes didn't leave the grass. "Keep a lookout," she said. We weren't alone. The younger medic froze mid-bandage. "You mean the lion's still out there?" Talia nodded. "And she's watching." The wind rustled through the acacia leaves like a distant breath. She always was. As the zebra was loaded onto the stretcher, it began to panic, legs kicking, eyes rolling in fear. Talia rushed to its side, placing both hands on its neck. "Easy, easy now," she murmured. The older medic motioned to his assistant. "Sedative, just enough to calm it." A soft hiss, the prick of a needle, and the zebra's movements slowed. Its breathing returned to a steady rhythm. Talia remained kneeling, one hand still on its flank. "We're going to move fast. She might still try something." The medics exchanged wary glances. "You think she'll attack a vehicle?" the younger one asked. Talia didn't answer. She simply looked back at the brush. Somewhere out there the lioness waited. Not hunting. Watching. Judging. Doting. As they secured the stretcher into the back of the vehicle, the air seemed to pulse with unease. "Let's move," Talia said, climbing in beside the zebra. "And keep your eyes open." The Land Cruiser rumbled back onto a narrow dirt track, leaving the Savannah behind. Talia rode in the rear compartment beside the stretcher, her hand never leaving the zebra's side. The young animal blinked slowly, its body swaying with the vehicle. Outside, the landscape flew past, endless brush, trees like clawed fingers, horizon blurring into heat haze. Talia kept her eyes on every movement. "They don't forget," she whispered. The driver, the older medic, looked at her through the rear mirror. "You mean lions?" She nodded. "When you interfere with their kill, they remember. They hold grudges." Silence fell again, filled only by the engine's growl and the occasional thump of the wheels. Then a sound, a rustling in the brush beside the road, too loud, too close. Talia stiffened. "She's following us," she said quietly. "She's not done." The vehicle came to an abrupt stop. "We've lost the trail," the driver muttered, frowning at the GPS. They had taken a detour to avoid known predator paths, but now the tracker blinked uselessly. "Can't go back that way," Talia said. "Too exposed." The younger medic opened his door, stepping into the brush. "I'll check the incline." "Don't," Talia started, but it was too late. He vanished into the tall grass. Seconds passed. Then, a scream. The driver leapt out, Talia right behind him. They found the young medic scrambling backward, his arm bleeding from a scratch, eyes wide with panic. She was there. I saw her, 20 feet away. Talia pulled him upright. Get back to the truck. Now. She scanned the brush, but saw nothing. No rustle, no growl. Only silence. That was worse. The lioness hadn't attacked. She had let him see her. A warning. Back in the vehicle, doors slammed shut. Talia sat tense, her hand tightening on the tranquilizer rifle now resting across her lap. The zebra stirred slightly beside her, still sedated but aware. Outside, the grass whispered again. Drive, Talia ordered. The vehicle lurched forward. We've got 10 minutes till the reserve gate. Her voice was low. Keep moving. The path narrowed, overgrown, and shadowed. Every bend in the track was a new ambush point. The lioness didn't need to strike, she only needed to haunt them. But as they rounded one final bend, the open plains of the wildlife reserve emerged like a sigh of relief. In the rear mirror, nothing followed. No shape, no shadow. Only empty road and swaying grass. Still, Talia didn't exhale until they passed the gate and locked it behind them. She looked at the zebra and whispered, "She let us go. For now." The reserve's infirmary was quiet, nestled within a grove of marula trees. Inside, the zebra lay curled on a padded mat under soft lighting. Its eyes were clearer now, body calmer. Talia stood beside the glass wall, arms folded, watching as the vet finished a scan. "Fracture?" she asked. The vet, a tall woman with silver hair and sharp eyes, shook her head. "No bones broken, but there's an older wound here. Back flank. Scarred over, hidden beneath the fur." Talia stepped closer. "What kind of wound?" The vet sighed. "Claw marks. Deep. This foal was attacked before." A cold weight dropped into Talia's gut. "That means..." The vet nodded. This wasn't its first time running. Silence stretched between them. The zebra had been prey before, and survived. Somehow. And now, it was being hunted again. Not random. Intentional. She remembered it, Talia whispered. The lioness. She came back for it. Later that night, Talia sat in the dim office beside stacks of case files. One dusty folder caught her eye. A report from 7 months ago. Lone Foal recovery, sector threat. She opened it. A field photo stared back. The same zebra, smaller, bloodied, barely standing. "It is him," she muttered. The file noted a lioness was chased off during the rescue, but not identified. Talia's fingers clenched the page. She survived that, and remembered. She looked again at the image. Behind the foal, just visible in the blurred grasses, 2 cubs. The same pattern. The same cycle. The lioness had lost her kill once. She'd waited, tracked, remembered. And she'd found the foal again. "This isn't a hunt," Talia said quietly. "It's personal. For the lioness, this wasn't survival. It was justice. Or vengeance. The reserve hadn't just saved a zebra. It had stolen something. And the Savannah never forgot." The next morning, Talia stood at the edge of the reserve boundary, staring into the endless grass. She held the photo from the report in one hand and binoculars in the other. Somewhere beyond the horizon, the lioness was still out there, older, hungrier, grieving. "You lost your cubs," Talia whispered. "Did you think he was to blame?" The Savannah stirred, wind bending the grass like waves. It wasn't about a single kill anymore. The lioness had made this foal her purpose. A living reminder of failure. Or a score never settled. Talia's radio crackled. "We've logged your report. Stand by for behavioral study request." But she wasn't thinking of data. She thought of the cubs she'd seen. Of the lioness' choice not to strike. And suddenly, she wasn't sure who she pitied more. The zebra for being hunted, or the lioness for being haunted. Inside the holding pen, the zebra had begun to walk again, cautiously but with resolve. Talia watched through the slats as it took shaky steps across the straw. "You've been running your whole life," she said softly. The vet approached. "We can relocate it to the inner sanctuary. No predators there." Talia shook her head slowly. "He'll never stop looking over his shoulder." She turned to the vet. "Let him choose." The vet frowned. "You mean, release him?" "Out here fear is freedom," Talia said. "He deserves the right to decide where he belongs." The zebra paused mid-step, then turned toward the gate. It had heard them. It was listening. And perhaps understanding. "Open it," Talia whispered. "Let him go. Let's see what kind of survivor he wants to be." The vet hesitated, then nodded. The gate creaked open. The zebra stood at the threshold, half in shadow, half in light. Talia didn't move. She watched. Waited. Then, slowly, the foal stepped forward. One hoof, then another. It didn't run. It didn't bolt. It walked with deliberate purpose into the open reserve. No herd waited. No safety net. Just the land, raw and vast. Behind it, the gate remained open. A symbol of choice, not confinement. Talia whispered, "You're not running anymore, are you?" The zebra paused on a hill, turned its head toward her once, then disappeared into the tall grass. Somewhere not far away, a lioness lay watching. But she didn't rise. She didn't move. Not yet. The story wasn't finished, but this chapter had closed. With hoofbeats on dry earth, the heart of the savannah beat once more. 2 days passed. Talia tracked the zebra's movements through the reserve perimeter sensors. Its signal pulsed steadily, never straying far, cautious, alert, alive. Then at dusk on the third evening the signal spiked. Movement, fast, erratic. She stared at the tracker. "It's running." An alert flashed. Stress pattern detected. She jumped into the cruiser, heart hammering. As she sped through the winding trails, every bump in the terrain felt like a countdown. Over the ridge, she spotted tracks, hoofprints flanked by claw marks. Fresh. Predator had returned. She grabbed her tranquilizer rifle and moved on foot, the sky now painted in molten oranges and purples. Through the brush she heard it. Panic breathing, a faint bray. She moved faster. "Not again," she whispered. The zebra was cornered in a ravine, and the lioness was closing in, step by lethal step. Talia crept down into the ravine, each step a gamble. The wind was still. Too still. She crouched behind a jut of rock, raising the rifle. Across the narrow gorge, the zebra stood trembling near the base of a dry fig tree, sides heaving. And there, mere meters away, the lioness. Low to the ground, eyes glowing in the twilight. She didn't charge. Not yet. This was ritual now. A reckoning. The zebra locked eyes with its predator, no longer the terrified foal it once was. It stood its ground, legs stiff, tail raised. Talia took aim, sweat beading on her brow. She whispered, "Move, little one." The lioness inched forward. The zebra took a single step toward her. Talia froze. This wasn't panic. It was defiance. A challenge. And the lioness paused, just for a heartbeat. Time froze. The lioness's tail flicked once, twice. Her muscles coiled. Talia's finger hovered over the trigger. The zebra stomped the ground, not in panic, but power. It had learned. Survived. Grown. The lioness lunged, not a sprint, but a measured strike, not reckless. Talia fired. The dart hit, not the lioness' flank, but her shoulder. She roared, spun, and locked eyes with Talia. In that single glance was history, loss, fury, understanding. She didn't charge. She backed away, growling, blinking slowly. The dart took effect. Her legs buckled. She lay down, breathing heavy, watching the zebra. It stood firm, nostrils flaring. "That's right," Talia whispered. "It's over." But it wasn't triumph she felt. It was sorrow, heavy and quiet. The lioness didn't close her eyes. She simply rested, as if relieved to stop chasing ghosts. A rescue team arrived under cover of night, headlights cutting through the dark like twin suns. The vet from before knelt beside the lioness. Clean hit. She'll wake in a few hours. Talia stood nearby, silent, the zebra grazing calmly a few paces away. She didn't want to kill him, she said. The vet glanced up. Then what did she want? Talia exhaled. To finish the story. The zebra walked past the sedated lioness slowly, almost respectfully. No panic. No fear. Just quiet understanding. The team prepared a crate to relocate the lioness, but Talia hesitated. No. She belongs here. Let her wake in her land. Let her return without shame. The vet paused, then nodded. This time, we walk away. They packed up in silence. The night held its breath, watching this fragile peace settle like dew. It was not victory, but it was balance. As the team drove off, Talia remained behind, crouched beside the zebra under the starlit sky. It rested now, legs folded beneath its body, eyes half-lidded, but aware. She whispered, "You stood your ground." The zebra flicked an ear. In the distance, a low groan signaled the lioness stirring. Talia didn't move. This wasn't fear anymore. It was farewell. "Your past found you," she said. "And you faced it." The wind carried the scent of dust and dew. Somewhere, unseen, the lioness slipped into the tall grass, alone but alive. The zebra rose slowly and walked toward the trees, not running, not hiding. Simply moving forward. Talia watched until it vanished. Then she stood, her heart full and aching. For the hunted, for the hunter, and for all the wild things that had to choose between vengeance and peace. Morning came gently, brushing the savannah with muted gold. At the reserve's observation post, Talia poured coffee into a metal cup, her gaze distant. Across the plains, the zebra grazed quietly, alone but calm. No signs of trauma now, just rhythm. The way of the wild. "He's learning to live," she murmured. A colleague stepped up beside her, yawning. "You're still out here?" Talia nodded. "I needed to see if he ran." The colleague looked through binoculars. "And did he?" "No," she replied. "Not once." The lioness hadn't been spotted again, not in the last 24 hours. Whether she had moved on or simply vanished deeper into the grass, no one knew. But the zebra remained. Grounded. Free. One day. Talia sipped her coffee, watching the foal nibble at thorns. He earned his peace. Let's not take it from him. Her voice held no triumph, only quiet respect. Inside the research tent, data flickered across a screen, behavioral patterns, movement tracking, stress markers. The zebra's log showed a remarkable drop in spikes. "He's adapting," the reserve biologist said, adjusting her glasses. No clustering near fences, no avoidance behavior. Talia sat across the table, fingers tracing a graph's curve. "His fear is fading." The biologist nodded. "It'll always be there, but now it's manageable." A video feed showed the zebra walking through open space, even grazing near other animals. Alone, but not isolated. "He doesn't need a herd," Talia said quietly. "He became his own." The biologist leaned back. "Rare, but not impossible." Silence followed. Then Talia smiled faintly. "He wasn't saved, he survived." They both watched the monitor, the flicker of movement small but steady. A survivor's gait. Quiet. Earned. At the lioness's old hunting ground, Talia stood alone. No camera, no rifle, just her in the wind. She walked slowly across the trampled grass, where the final standoff had taken place. The soil still bore the outline of paws, the deep indentations of hooves. Ghosts in the dust. "You taught him strength," she whispered. "Even if you meant to break him." There was no reply. Only the distant call of a hornbill. She crouched, placing a stone atop another, a silent marker. Not for mourning. For memory. We interfered once, she said aloud. And we had to finish what we started. But now, it's yours again. Her voice was firm. She stood, brushed dirt from her knees, and looked to the horizon. She didn't expect to see the lioness. But she hoped she was watching. Somewhere. Unseen, but never forgotten. Later that week, a tour group passed the outer plains. Children leaned from the vehicle windows, eyes wide. "Look, a zebra," one called. The guide smiled. "He's a special one." The zebra stood a short distance away, watching calmly. No panic. No flight. Just presence. Talia, observing from a nearby ridge, smiled softly. "They don't need to know his story," she said. "They just need to know he's here." The zebra turned briefly toward the vehicle, then resumed grazing, unconcerned by the eyes upon him. To them, he was another striped animal in the wild. To her, he was proof that survival was not just endurance, but evolution. That trauma didn't erase dignity. That even in a world of predators, grace could grow. And sometimes, the bravest thing an animal could do was simply stay. That night, under the stars, Talia wrote in her field journal. Her lantern cast a soft glow over the page as she scribbled, "Survivor, status, wild, stable, behavior, alert but free, recommendation, let him choose." She paused, tapping the pen. Then added, "He knows who he is now." Closing the journal, she looked up at the sky, vast, infinite, speckled with constellations. Somewhere out there, the lioness moved under the same stars, unseen. And the zebra, once prey, now walked his world without apology. Talia leaned back against the tent post, listening to the night. Crickets sang. The wind moved gently. And with it came peace, not just for the animals, but for her. "Sometimes," she whispered to the dark, "the best ending is letting go." She closed her eyes and exhaled. Not in sorrow. In release. At dawn, the savannah shimmered under a curtain of mist. The zebra stood alone on a ridge, the first rays of sun outlining his silhouette in gold. He was still, not grazing, not fleeing, just watching. Below him, a small herd of wildebeest moved lazily toward a watering hole, their grunts echoing through the valley. Talia watched from a distance, hidden beneath a fig tree. She didn't call out. She didn't need to. The zebra glanced her way once, then turned back to the wild. "He doesn't need me anymore," she said, not with sadness but awe. The foal she had rescued, twice, was now a figure of quiet strength. Alone, yet whole. The savannah no longer feared him. It had accepted him. And he in turn had accepted it. There was power in stillness. Power in choosing where you stand. Back at the infirmary, the vet reviewed final notes. All vitals normal. No further interventions needed. She closed the file labeled, Subject 31. Talia stood across the room, packing her field bag. "We won't track him anymore," she said. The vet raised an eyebrow. "You're releasing the collar?" Talia nodded. "He's earned anonymity." That evening, she approached the zebra one last time, tranquilized, resting. With practiced care, she removed the tracker from his neck and whispered, "You're your own now." The zebra stirred, blinking slowly. He wouldn't remember this moment. But Talia would. Every scar, every sprint, every choice, they belonged to him now. The data was done. The science completed. What remained was story, wild and unwritten. She stood in silence, the collar dangling in her hand, then placed it on the table and walked away. That night, the zebra wandered near the place where his journey had begun, the acacia grove, the dusty trail, the ghost of his younger self. He sniffed the air, ears swiveling, then stepped softly through the grass. No lioness emerged. Only wind. But the memory of her, the weight of her presence, still lingered. In the shadows, she had shaped him, forged him, taught him that fear was not weakness, it was wisdom. And courage wasn't noise. It was persistence, a soft hoof step in the direction of risk. He paused beneath the thorny trees where once he had run, and now he simply stood. No longer prey, no longer chased, just a creature who had survived and remained. In the silence, something sacred passed between land and life, a quiet reconciliation between predator and past. Far away, hidden in the brush, the lioness stirred. No longer hunting, no longer watching, just breathing. Her cubs were gone. Her legacy was a blur of movement, moments, losses. She had hunted for survival, for need, and for memory. And in the zebra, she had seen a reflection of something unfinished. But now, with her limbs stretched beneath starlight and her ribs rising and falling in rhythm with the land, she knew the chase was over. It hadn't ended in death. It had ended in choice. She blinked slowly, no longer searching the grass for hoofbeats. The world was quiet again. Her story, once filled with fury, now whispered only one truth: not every ending must be final. Some simply fade into the wild. The wind whispered through the savannah one last time. Talia stood alone beneath the starlit sky, facing the open plains. Behind her, the camp lights glowed faintly. A world of walls and rules. Before her, wildness stretched into forever. She closed her eyes and listened, not for the zebra, not for the lioness, but for the silence. The kind that follows resolution. She opened her journal and wrote just one line: he chose to live. Then she tore the page out, folded it gently, and let it fall into the grass. A gift to the land, a truth for the wind. And as the note fluttered to rest among the roots, a faint sound echoed from far away, not a roar, not a bray, just hoofbeats. Faint, taut, steady, washinwadi, free. The story was over, but its heartbeat carried on.